If you listen to rock music, you've heard a billion guitar solos and probably lots of drum solos too. But what about solos that go so low that you might not even know that it's part of the show? I'm talking, of course, about the elusive bass solo. 99.99% of the time, nobody gives a shit what a band's bass player is doing. And when bassists do get noticed, it's usually because they botched a note or they've made some sort of mistake somewhere. But 1 out of every 10,000 or so bass players are actually able to draw your attention without messing up at all. And they do so by slapping, picking, and plucking their way into your head with a bass solo. Some bass solos can make up an entire song, some are barely even a second long, some are impossible not to play wrong, but most just suck a big fat schlong. However, in this video, the only bass solos that belong are ones that are strong. So maybe take a few hits from the bong and come along as I tell you about some bass solo songs more powerful than King Kong. Number 1. Anastasia Pulling Teeth by Metallica. You don't need to be high on laughing gas to appreciate this 4-minute and 14-second long monster of a bass solo. Even stone cold sober, this track will blow your mind and maybe even your speakers. Anastasia Pulling Teeth was on Metallica's first album, Kill 'Em All, and is one of the most recognizable bass solos of all time. Walk up to any metalhead and just say, bass solo, take one, and they'll immediately know you're talking about Cliff Burton's 1983 metal masterpiece. The first 2.5 minutes of Anastasia Pulling Teeth is just Cliff and his Rickenbacker bass doing what he did so well, shredding the shit out of that thing. Now, usually you'll never hear a bass player's name mentioned in a sentence that has a word like shred in it, or talented, or influential, but Cliff Burton is the one exception. He was an incredibly talented, highly influential bassist who could shred. Unfortunately, since 1986, he's been dead. Metallica's tour bus crashed while Cliff was in bed. He went flying solo out a window, and the bus landed on his head. Like me and 1,000 other Metallica fans have said, if only it could have been Lars instead. Speaking of Metallica's whiny, golf-loving drummer, the least metal sport on the planet, Lars joins Cliff at the 2.5-minute mark of Anastasia Pulling Teeth, and they rock it together till the end. This track, along with the rest of Kill 'Em All, is thrash metal at its finest. It kicks ass start to finish. Between the distortion, wah pedal, and shredding, Cliff Burton taught the world that the bass guitar can, in the right hands, be almost as cool as a regular electric guitar. Number 2. La Villa Strangiato by Rush. While Cliff Burton solos for more than 4 minutes straight in Anastasia Pulling Teeth, Geddy Lee's solo in La Villa Strangiato is less than 4 seconds long, but it's no less impressive. Rush's frontman is able to fire off 30 finger-picked notes in about 3 seconds during his short but mind-blowing solo in the middle of what's probably their second most well-known instrumental song. La Villa Strangiato and YYZ are both insane instrumentals that'll get stuck in your head. Due to their complexity, it's often said that these songs are something that most bass players dread. Released on the album Hemispheres in 1978, this prog rock instrumental is nearly 10 minutes long. The song's full name is La Villa Strangiato, an Exercise in Self-Indulgence. If you're a beginner or even an intermediate-level bass player, trying to play this song is just going to be an exercise in futility because it's full of fast runs, crazy intervals, and other hard-to-play shit. Geddy Lee, like the other members of Rush, is a top-shelf musician. He might look like a computer nerd who plays D&D all day, and he might sound like a chipmunk on crack, but the man can rock a bass guitar all night long. Just like Cliff Burton used a Rickenbacker 4001 to record Anastasia Pulling Teeth, Geddy Lee used the same bass to record La Villa Strangiato. Both men fingered their way through these kick-ass instrumentals without the use of a guitar pick. However, this next pick is played with a guitar pick. It's not an instrumental, but it's just as sick. Number 3. Maxwell Murder by Rancid. Let's be honest, most guitarists look down at bass players, and the ones that get picked on the most are bassists who use a guitar pick. If you want to kinda sorta get a little respect from guitarists, slapping and finger-picking are the only acceptable playing styles. But there's one exception to this rule, and his name is Matt Freeman. He's the only bass player on the planet who can use a pick and still look cool. Though there are lots of Rancid and Op Ivy songs that showcase Freeman's skill, Maxwell Murder is perhaps the best example of his fast, aggressive bass playing. It's the first song on Rancid's 1995 album, And Out Come the Wolves. In the middle of this 1 minute and 25-second long punk song is a 15-second bass solo that I know will blow your mind, bro. The whole thing is mostly 16th notes, and Freeman fires them off at a rate of about 8 per second. It's fast, energetic, and short, basically making it the perfect punk rock bass solo. Since Matt's basically the perfect punk rock bass player, this isn't surprising. He's been rocking crazy fast bass lines since Operation Ivy formed in 1987. Unlike 99% of punk rock bass players who just play the root of whatever chord the guitarist is playing, Freeman's fingers freely fly up and down the fretboard fast. Songs like Bombshell and Uncertain will leave you certain that when it comes to playing the bass, Matt Freeman is the bomb. She's a bombshell, and the boy in the caddy with the black coat, white shoes, and black hat's a time bomb. But Matt Freeman is simply the bomb. When most people think of punk rock bass lines, they think of basic bros playing boring bars to basic beats. But Matt Freeman showed me and the rest of the world that even though you don't actually need to know how to play the bass at all to become one of the most famous punk rock bassists of all time, in skilled hands like Matt's, the bass can take a good punk band like Op Ivy and elevate them to legendary status by helping to shape their unique bass-driven sound. Number 4, Jerry Was a Race Car Driver by Primus. They say less is more, which is stupid because even the most basic of logic, even the most elementary of critical thinking skills will tell you that that phrase is dead wrong. Obviously, more is more and less is less. Unless, of course, we're talking about Les Claypool. In this case, less is more. Les is a more skilled, successful, and all-around slaptastic bass player than you or I could ever hope to be. Jerry was a race car driver, but Les Claypool is a legendary bass-playing survivor. Compared to Cliff Burton, he's certainly aliver. And unlike Cliff-era Metallica, who only have a couple of songs that contain bass solos, just about every Primus song has at least a few bars of slap-happy soloing. I'm throwing Jerry Was a Race Car Driver out there since the first few seconds of the song's intro is just the bass. But Tommy the Cat, My Name is Mud, Professor Nutbutter, and lots of other Primus songs have bass solos, fast runs, slappy syncopated bass lines, and all the other wacky stuff that Les Claypool is known for. Like being a weird, wacky dude. I mean, have you taken a look at the guy? I don't think I've seen him wear an article of clothing that's been in style for at least 80 years. Les looks like he shops for clothes at the same thrift stores that Doug Stanhope does. I guess all of Doug's talent went into comedy and all of Les's went into music, because clearly neither have any talent for fashion. But I don't care how they look. I care how they sound. And Les Claypool sounds like no other bassist on the planet. When you hear the first few seconds to My Name is Mud or Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, you immediately know it's the Primus frontman, because he's a prime example of a premium bassist. Man, I hate to tell you, but you're living in denial. Denial of the fact that my brand new album, Denialism, just dropped on all streaming services and is even available as an actual physical CD. It's 12 tracks of raw, unapologetic chaos inspired by punk rock, metal, and all the other genres I'm always talking shit about. So if you enjoy loud music with fun, lighthearted themes like nihilism, class struggle, loneliness, and existential dread, Denialism is out now. So go stream, download, or buy. I don't care why. Maybe you like me and you want to show your support. Maybe you think I suck and want to hear the album I spent a year producing entirely by myself so you can go and relentlessly make fun of it. Either way, I don't care. Just go stream, download, or buy my new 100% DIY album, Denialism. Link in the description. Number 5. NIB by Black Sabbath. This is another instantly recognizable bass solo. All I have to hear is do-do-do-do-do, and I instantly know it's the opening bass solo to NIB by Black Sabbath. After tearing up a 40-second-long fuzz-driven bass solo, Geezer Butler lunges into NIB's main bass riff for a few seconds before the drums and guitar come in. And then the song, like all but a couple of Ozzy-era Sabbath songs, kicks ass until the very end. The bass solo to NIB is really the perfect bass solo for a few reasons. 1, it's instantly recognizable by fans of classic rock, hard rock, stoner rock, metal, and lots of other rock subgenres. 2, it's a hell of a lot easier to play than anything by Geddy Lee or Les Claypool, other than maybe the first 20 seconds of YYZ or the first 2 seconds of My Name is Mud. And 3, a bassist that can play the solo to NIB will easily be more satisfying to see than a rhythm guitarist, even if he can go on a spree playing every riff from Master of Reality just from memory. But what no bass player or guitarist can tell me is what the meaning of NIB could possibly be. Since there are 2 Sabbath cover albums called Nativity and Black, the second of which includes a cover of NIB performed by Ozzy with Primus, a lot of people think that's what NIB stands for. But it doesn't. You want to know what NIB actually stands for? It stands for NIB. I have no idea, bro. However, according to Geezer Butler, the guy who wrote the song and who also happens to have the least cool name in rock and roll history, NIB doesn't really stand for anything. He said that the title was a reference to Bill Ward's beard, which looked like a pen nib, and that they just threw some periods in there for absolutely no reason. Now, if I'm being honest, I didn't even know that nib was a word. And even though there's an explanation for what NIB means straight from the mouth of the dude who wrote it, I don't buy it. Since NIB is such a cool song, I refuse to believe that it has such a stupid, boring name. I'm going to choose to believe that NIB isn't about Bill Ward's nib of a beard, and that it stands for something at least kinda cool like Nasty Insane Bass or Nice Intro, Butler. Even though NIB and every other track on Black Sabbath's debut album totally kicks ass, you gotta admit, this song's name is bullshit. Number 6, Higher Ground by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I can't think of another sound that gets me naturally higher than the first few seconds of Higher Ground. I could listen to this song over and over again. Well, at least Flea's slap-happy intro. The rest of the song is kinda meh. But if it wasn't for the first few seconds of Higher Ground, the bass guitar is something I might have never found. When I was in middle school, a friend brought me to his neighbor's house, some high school kid twice our size, who blew our minds by flawlessly playing the intro to Higher Ground. I could feel the bass pounding in my chest as I watched with wide eyes. Before then, I just saw the bass guitar as a boring rhythm instrument. And I still see it that way. Mostly. But Flea's intro to Higher Ground taught me that the bass can actually look cool and sound good in the right hands. Though it was the Chili Peppers' 1989 Higher Ground cover that put the bass on the map for me, this song was written by Stevie Wonder and released on his 1973 album, Inner Visions. I guess his visions would have to be inner since the guy's been blind since birth. Stevie's version of Higher Ground is terrible. It doesn't even have a real bass guitar in it. Steve used a Moog synthesizer for the bass line to go along with the wishy-washy clavinet he used for the melody and harmony. I mean, yeah, it's impressive that Stevie not only wrote the song but played all the instruments on the recording without being able to see. But if you ask me, I'd rather both hear and see Flea play this song with the RHCP. You may disagree, but Stevie's original just ain't my cup of tea. The Chili Peppers have lots of songs with notable bass lines in them, but nothing comes close to the intro to Higher Ground. To this day, every time I hear Flea's slappy bass, it puts a smile on my happy face. Though the opening bass riff to Higher Ground is technically an intro, since it's only Flea and his bass, I'm calling it a solo. And just so you know, bro, I'm going to go and throw 2 more bass intros into our list of bass solos. Number 7, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying by Megadeth. Every single metalhead who was alive in the late 80s through the mid-90s knows at least the first few seconds of this song. That's because it was used as the theme for MTV's Headbangers Ball, a show that played nothing but metal, most of it terrible, but every once in a while, Ricky Ratman would throw us a song that rocked, and Peace Sells was one of them. Unlike 99% of other Megadeth songs, every single one of which features at least one guitar solo, the bass line to Peace Sells doesn't get buried underneath their growling guitars. Well, not for about 7 seconds, then it does. But the first few seconds of Peace Sells is just Dave Ellefson rocking his Jackson bass with the drummer, Megadeth's 4th out of 12, keeping the beat with the kick drum. While it's true that ain't nobody trying to buy Peace, over 1 million people have bought the album Peace Sells But Who's Buying. And for bass players trying to play the title track's intro, it's not nearly as terrifying as some of the other songs on this list. There's no denying that some are horrifying. Bassists are regularly shying away from them, and those who don't are often left crying. But even intermediate bassists, when applying their skill, will be flying through Peace Sells But Who's Buying. Number 8, Schism by Tool. Perhaps the most famous triplets in rock, of this millennium anyway. Every time I hear Schism, it's like catching 2 ears full of jism. That's because, like at least 2 out of every 5 Tool songs, this one totally rocks. Released on the 2001 album Lateralis, the opening bass line to Schism penetrates the mind like hypnotism. I'd comment on Maynard's lyricism, but like all Tool songs, I have no fucking clue what they mean. Just like I haven't the slightest idea what time signature this song is in because it changes over a dozen times. But you don't need to know what this song's about or what number to count to while tapping your foot to appreciate this 6-minute and 47-second long math rock masterpiece. Unlike most other Tool songs, much of Schism's groove revolves around Justin Chancellor's drop D bass line. He, along with the other bass players on the list, have shown us that the bass guitar can actually be a powerful tool in the right hands, used to create dazzling solos and unforgettable intros. And although, when it comes to audio, most people don't know the difference between a bass, an electric, and say, a dobro, when one of these songs comes on the radio, you can't help but go whoa with the flow of low tones, because most rock bass lines blow like ones from the Rolling Stones. And there you have it, 8 killer rock and roll bass solos and intros. Even though notable bass playing is rare in rock music, the bassist on this list managed to hit all the right notes. But I'm sure there are at least one or two other rock bassists out there who know how to rock their instrument. In the comments, tell me about some other rock songs where the bass is strong that you feel belong and I missed all along. The bass guitar might not be glamorous. It's definitely the least cool instrument in rock music. But it's a necessary part of any rock band, and all bassists deserve recognition. Even the shittiest player on a football team gets a ring if they win the Super Bowl. So even the most boring of rock bassists deserve a quick nod. To all the mediocre bass players out there who can play in time, keep their volume down, and know to stay out of the way of the lead guitarist, I salute you. You're the backbone of your band, which is precisely where you belong, in the back. But the bassists I've been talking about in this video put themselves front and center by showing us that their instrument can do a lot more than just play eighth note chord roots. The truth is out there, and so are some amazing bass players, but good luck finding one for your band. For every Les Claypool, for every Geddy Lee, there are 1,000 Sid Viciouses. You'd have better luck finding Bigfoot than a bassist with skilled hands. But even if you have to journey to the end of the East Bay to find one, awesome bassists exist like the one on this list, and even a few others that I probably missed.
You're so annoying.
If you want to hear some of my original music, my new album Denialism just dropped on all streaming services and is even available as an actual physical CD. Link in the description. If you like this shirt, it's available in lots of colors and sizes at MusicBSharp.com, along with lots of other funny music-related merch. Link also in the description. And if you want access to special episodes of MusicBSharp, visit my Patreon page where you can find exclusive content, get early access to regular videos, and more. Now, go listen to my new album, Denialism, on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever else you listen to music.